Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing. And if you want to go practice casting on snow in the middle of the winter, do you really want to be going out there with your expensive tapered leaders that you bought for trout fishing? Or maybe saltwater fishing or whatever it is. You've gone out and bought these factory-made tapered leaders. That can get expensive. Yeah, I mean, even though we're on snow, you can still throw wind knots in them and ruin perfectly good leaders. So you should really look at building your own. And I've bought these spools on sale. It's Trilene Big Game. It's not expensive. Now these are big spools because I was building a lot of leaders when I was doing teaching. But I mean, you could buy 100-yard spools, no problem. It doesn't cost very much money, and you can build your own leaders. Now I use, let's see, which is what I got here. This is 30, this is 20, this is 15. Very common for me when I'm creating leaders. If I'm working with light rods like 4-weights and 3-weights, I'll go down one step. So I'll start at 20, 15, 10. And the lengths I use are, I try and stay around 8 to 10 feet overall. And I will usually put at least 50% of the leader will be the butt. So in this case, 30 pounds. And then the remainder will be split 50-50 between the 20-pound and the 15-pound. So it's like 50%, 30-pound, 25%, 20-pound, 25%, 15-pound. And in that 9-foot range. The knots, double surgeons knots, triple surgeons knots are just fine. And if your knots are not perfect, who cares? You're not catching a fish on these leaders. And if you get wind knots in them, who cares? You know, you're not going to break off a fish because of it. So if you get some cheap mono and, 100-yard spools, they'll last you a lot of practices, and you can build whatever size of leader you want. And I think you only really need 3, as I say, for bigger rods, 30, 20, 15, for smaller rods, 20, 15, 10, and you're good to go. Now at the end, we want something to provide some drag. And so the best thing is to tie on a bit of yarn. This is just good old red knitting yarn. It's rather thick and fluffy. You could also buy egg yarn. That works fine. Your fly shop sells lots of egg yarn, and so does tackle shops. A nice dark bright color. If you're working on snow, go with like the dark reds, like this one, or bright reds. You'll be able to see it a lot better. If you go with something that is, like a very pale yellow, you may lose it against the snow. But this you'll see. Now, as far as the size is concerned, you can see I've doubled this over. So I would tie it at the bend here. And this becomes just like a streamer as it goes through the air. So it provides a necessary drag to get a proper turnover and don't get that whip cracking noise. Now, if I'm going with a light rod, I'm going to really shorten that down. So I maybe you're working with 1 inch of yarn. So it's more representative of the size of the flies I'm going to be casting. And if I was casting a big saltwater rod, I might double this. So, it'd be about that long and maybe 4 strands. So I get the feeling of a big fly. So keep that in mind. Some good old red knitting yarn. You can steal it from your mother's or your wife's or your granny's knitting box. And you can get some really cheap stuff too at stores. And, or egg yarn, that'll work. As long as it's a nice bright, day glow orange or this bright red, you'll be able to see it on the snow, and it'll provide the necessary drag. Just make sure that you tie it a proportional size to the size of rod you're using. The other thing, when I tie these on the leaders, I normally use an overhand knot, but I've made 3 or 4 passes through the overhand knot before I tighten it up. And then I take the tag end and I'll make another overhand knot. It never comes undone. It's on there forever. So simple, just an overhand knot that has 3 or 4 passes through it. Put that through, pull it tight, then put another overhand knot with the tag. You're good to go. It'll stay on there forever. So build your own leaders. Don't use your expensive factory leaders, tapered leaders for casting on snow. You don't need it. Cheers.